The story begins in the mid-2020s in Fairview, a quiet suburban town that looks peaceful on the surface. With its charming streets and friendly neighbors, it seems like the perfect place to live. But beneath the calm exterior, a shocking betrayal is brewing that will tear a family apart. James Callahan is a 42-year-old detective and a respected figure in the Fairview Police Department. He's known for solving tough cases and has a confident personality that makes people trust him. On the outside, James seems like the perfect husband and father. But James is hiding a dark secret. He's been distant from his family, spending long hours at work, and not all of them are work-related. His actions are about to lead to devastating consequences. Lisa Callahan, 39, is James's loyal wife. She left her teaching career to raise their 2 children and support James in his demanding job. Lisa is strong and caring. However, Lisa has started to notice changes in James. He spends too much time on his phone, comes home late without proper explanations, and often seems distracted. Her instincts tell her something is wrong, but she has no proof yet. Emily Foster is a 17-year-old high school student who works part-time at a local diner to help support her family. She comes from a troubled home with an alcoholic mother and a younger brother she takes care of. Emily is vulnerable and craves attention. When James, a regular customer at the diner, starts paying attention to her, she feels special. She doesn't realize that James's interest in her will drag her into a dangerous situation. James and Lisa's marriage is under strain. James has become emotionally distant, often making excuses about work, while Lisa is left feeling alone in their relationship. She has started noticing odd behavior. He takes late-night phone calls. He makes strange excuses for being away. She notices unfamiliar perfume on his clothes. Lisa suspects James is hiding something, but without proof, she waits and watches, unsure of what she'll uncover. As the weeks pass, Lisa becomes more aware of James's increasing absences. His late nights at the office, once a rare occurrence, have become a regular pattern. Every night, he comes home later than expected, often with tired eyes and a distracted attitude. When Lisa asks about his long hours, he brushes it off with vague excuses. There's a new case I'm working on, or we're short-staffed at the station. Lisa wants to believe him, but the excuses start to feel rehearsed. She begins to wonder if something else is going on, something he isn't telling her. The emotional distance between them grows, and her mind starts to race with possibilities. One evening, while reviewing the couple's finances, Lisa notices something troubling. Their joint credit card statement includes several charges she doesn't recognize. There's a dinner bill from a fancy restaurant she knows they didn't visit, along with some other unexplained purchases. Lisa assumes, at first, that perhaps James has bought something for the family, maybe a surprise gift, but the items listed don't seem to fit that theory. She begins to feel uneasy. When she confronts James, he shrugs it off, claiming that he used the card for a work-related dinner with colleagues, but Lisa can't shake the feeling that he's hiding something. James has always been private about his work, but Lisa begins to notice odd things in his home office. He started locking a particular drawer in his desk, something he's never done before. At first, Lisa assumes it's just a habit, but the drawer becomes a point of focus for her. Curiosity gets the best of her one afternoon when she notices James is out on another long work shift. Lisa quietly approaches his office and tries to open the locked drawer, but the key is nowhere to be found. She feels a pang of frustration, but decides to wait and confront him later. Why would he be so protective of a drawer unless there's something inside that he doesn't want her to see? The breaking point comes one evening when Lisa overhears a phone conversation that shakes her to the core. She's sitting in the living room, reading, when James steps out onto the porch to take a call. At first, She can't make out what's being said, but then she hears a woman's voice, soft and familiar. She's certain she recognizes the voice, but can't place it immediately. James's tone is different from usual, softer, almost flirtatious. He speaks in hushed tones, saying things like, "I miss you, and we can't let anyone find out." Lisa's heart sinks as the words hang in the air. This isn't a work call, it's personal. Lisa is frozen, torn between confronting James immediately or waiting to gather more information. She feels betrayed, confused, and hurt, but she knows one thing for sure: her suspicions have been confirmed. Something is happening behind her back, and it's not just about work. As the days pass, Lisa's anxiety and frustration grow. She feels like she's living in two worlds, one where she plays the role of the supportive wife, and another where she's slowly unraveling the truth. The cracks in her marriage are no longer subtle. They're wide open, and she can't ignore them any longer. Lisa's growing suspicion begins to consume her thoughts. What is James hiding? Why is he lying to her? And most importantly, who is he seeing? She realizes she can't keep pretending everything is fine and that a confrontation is inevitable. But she knows it won't be easy, and the consequences will be far-reaching. Lisa's suspicions have reached a boiling point. After overhearing the phone call between James and the woman, she can no longer sit idly by, pretending everything is fine. She needs answers, and she knows that waiting for James to come clean will only prolong the pain. So one evening, when James leaves for what he claims is another late night at the station, Lisa makes a bold decision. She follows him. She doesn't know exactly what she expects to find, but she can't ignore the nagging feeling that something dangerous is at play. Quietly, she gets into her car and tails him, making sure to keep a safe distance so he doesn't notice her following. Her heart pounds as she drives through the winding streets of Fairview, unsure of where this will lead, but feeling a sense of urgency she can't explain. James takes a different route than usual, leading Lisa out of town and toward a secluded area near a local park. She parks her car a few blocks away and walks cautiously toward the park, trying to stay hidden behind trees and bushes. Through the darkness, she spots James's car parked near the edge of the park. A figure is walking toward him. It's Emily, the teenage girl from the diner. Lisa's stomach tightens as she watches them meet. Her mind races as she watches them embrace briefly and then walk together deeper into the park, out of sight. Lisa stands frozen in place, fighting the overwhelming urge to confront them on the spot, but something holds her back. The confirmation of her worst fears is now undeniable. She watches them talk, their body language too familiar, too comfortable, and it sends a wave of anger and confusion through her. Lisa tries to steady her breath, knowing that she can't let them see her. After several long minutes, she decides to leave, unable to bear watching anymore. She retreats back to her car, her head spinning with questions. How long has this been going on? What is she going to do now? When Lisa returns home, she is no longer the woman who quietly suspected something. She is determined to uncover the full truth. Her heart aches, but her mind is set. She can no longer trust James, and now it's time to gather evidence. That night, after James falls asleep on the couch, his usual habit after long workdays, Lisa quietly creeps into his office. She knows James keeps his tablet on his desk, so she carefully opens it, hoping to find something that will give her the clarity she desperately needs. Her fingers tremble as she unlocks the device and opens his messages. At first, she finds nothing, but as she scrolls, she sees a series of text messages that send a shock through her. The messages are explicit, flirty, intimate exchanges between James and Emily. "I can't stop thinking about you," reads one text. Another message says, "I'll make it up to you, I promise." Lisa's heart shatters as she continues reading, unable to stop herself. Her hands shake as she uncovers a pattern of communication that spans weeks. Each message, more inappropriate than the last, filled with promises and secret rendezvous. She feels as though the ground beneath her is slipping away. The final blow comes when Lisa opens a final thread of messages between James and Emily. One of the messages from Emily reads, "I'm scared, James. I can't tell anyone. What do we do now?" James replies, "We'll figure it out. I promise I'm here for you, Emily. We'll get through this together." Lisa clicks on the attached photo Emily sent, and her breath catches in her throat. It's an ultrasound image. Emily is pregnant. Lisa can barely believe her eyes as she reads the follow-up text from Emily. "I'm sure it's yours, James." The weight of the revelation crashes down on Lisa. Her husband, the man she trusted, the father of her children, has not only been cheating on her but has gotten a teenage girl pregnant. The sense of betrayal is more than she can bear. She feels sick to her stomach, her world unraveling in a way she never imagined. In the hours that follow, Lisa's emotions are a whirlwind of anger, hurt, and betrayal. She feels as if she's lost the love of her life, the man she thought she knew. She could never have imagined that James, who she had loved and trusted for so long, would do something so reckless and cruel. But in the midst of her devastation, something within her shifts. This isn't just about her broken marriage. This is about justice, about making sure James faces the consequences of his actions. She knows she can't confront him right now, not without fully understanding the depth of his betrayal and deciding what her next steps will be. Lisa takes a deep breath, wiping away tears. She resolves that she won't let James control the narrative. She will take matters into her own hands. Whatever happens next, she will make sure James understands the full weight of what he's done. No longer will she be the betrayed wife standing in the shadows. She will be the one to take control of her life and make him pay. Lisa knows that in order to carry out her plan for revenge, she needs to be meticulous. She understands that emotions might cloud her judgment in the heat of the moment, so she decides to take a more calculated approach, one that will ensure she has undeniable evidence when the time comes to expose James. She starts by documenting everything, working quietly in the shadows, making sure nothing slips through the cracks. Lisa uses her phone to take discreet photos whenever she sees James meeting with Emily. She's careful not to make it obvious, snapping pictures from a distance, always making sure they can't be misinterpreted. The images, though seemingly innocent to anyone who doesn't know the full story, will later serve as critical pieces of evidence. Lisa also knows that the texts and messages she found on James's tablet are crucial, so she copies every single one to her phone. Every flirtatious word, every confession from James is saved and backed up. She knows that when the time comes, these texts will expose James's guilt beyond a doubt. The final piece of evidence comes when she manages to get her hands on a paternity test report. Emily, fearing the consequences of being pregnant, had secretly gone to a clinic and sent James the results showing he is the father. Lisa finds the report after some careful searching through James's things. It's a small victory, but it adds another layer of certainty to her plan. She has everything she needs to destroy him. With the evidence in her possession, Lisa's next move is to ruin James's reputation. She knows the key to hurting him the most is exposing his affair and the pregnancy to his colleagues, particularly those at the police department, where James holds a respected position. If she can make this public, she can strip him of the one thing he values most, his career. Lisa decides to do this anonymously, careful to leave no trace of her involvement. She sends an email to one of the department's higher-ups, including photos of James and Emily together, screenshots of their explicit text messages, and the paternity test report. The email is carefully crafted, with no indication of who sent it, just cold, hard fact. She hits send and watches as the chain of events begins to unfold. The story quickly picks up momentum. Police department becomes embroiled in a scandal as James's affair becomes public knowledge, and the revelation of the teenage pregnancy shocks everyone who had once looked up to him. His colleagues are disgusted and appalled, questioning how they ever trusted him. Soon after, the local media picks up the story. News outlets, eager for a juicy scandal, begin covering the affair extensively. They spin the story in ways that cast James in a truly despicable light, highlighting not only the affair with a minor, but the betrayal of his wife and the public trust. His once pristine reputation, carefully built over years of hard work, is shattered in the blink of an eye. Lisa watches from the sidelines, satisfaction building inside her as she watches the walls of James's world come crashing down. With James's career and reputation on the line, Lisa begins to turn her attention to more subtle means of revenge. She's no longer content with just the public humiliation now. She wants to break him down emotionally and psychologically, to make him feel the weight of his actions from every angle. First, she confronts James, though not directly. Instead, she drops hints, leading him to believe that she knows something is wrong without revealing that she has all the details. She makes passing comments like, "I heard about a scandal at your department. Can't be easy for you, and I wonder how Emily's doing with everything. She seems so young to be going through something so serious." At first, James brushes it off, assuming Lisa is just being paranoid, or perhaps is trying to manipulate him. But as she continues to subtly bring up Emily and the affair, James begins to sweat. He grows increasingly paranoid, unsure if Lisa is just guessing or if she truly knows the full extent of his betrayal. The tension between them starts to grow, and every time James thinks he has a handle on the situation, Lisa's casual remarks undermine his confidence. Lisa also targets Emily, though in a more calculated and insidious way. She begins to befriend her, presenting herself as someone who understands the struggles of being a young woman in a complicated relationship. Lisa offers to support Emily, listening patiently as the teenager vents about her fears of the pregnancy and the looming scandal. Lisa's warmth and kindness put Emily at ease, making her feel like she has someone in her corner. However, this is all part of Lisa's plan. She subtly starts sowing doubt in Emily's mind about James. She asks questions that make Emily rethink her relationship with James. Like, do you think he really wants to be a father at this point in his life? Or what will happen if James gets caught? Do you trust him to handle the consequences? These small seeds of doubt begin to take root in Emily's mind, making her question whether James is truly committed to her, or if he's just using her as a pawn in his affair. The emotional strain of the public scandal, combined with Lisa's psychological manipulation, begins to chip away at James's confidence. He feels like he's being attacked from all sides. His reputation is in tatters, his marriage is unraveling, and even the girl he thought he could control is now questioning his intentions. Lisa's plan is working. She's not just ruining his life. She's making him feel every ounce of pain and betrayal he put her through. James Callahan's world is falling apart. What had once seemed like a secure and respected career in law enforcement is now teetering on the edge of ruin. The moment the media began covering the scandal of his affair and the revelation that he had impregnated a teenage girl, his professional life went into a tailspin. His colleagues, who had once admired him for his work ethic and dedication, now view him with contempt. Whispers about his betrayal circulate, and James finds himself alienated at work. His boss pulls him into an urgent meeting and informs him that he is being placed on suspension. while an internal investigation is launched to determine the extent of his misconduct. The humiliation is unbearable for James. Suspended from the force and facing the possibility of losing his job entirely, he has nowhere to turn. The news of his suspension spreads quickly, and the local community, once proud of their police detective, is now turning their backs on him. James is confronted not only with the loss of his career, but also the unraveling of his personal life. The affair with Emily and the subsequent pregnancy have done irreparable damage to his marriage, and the betrayal cuts deep. Lisa, who had been quiet and calculating up until this point, takes the final step. As James's life crumbles, Emily, whom he had once viewed as a victim and pawn, begins to pull away. Their relationship, built on secrecy and lies, begins to crack under the pressure of public scrutiny and the weight of Lisa's subtle manipulation. Lisa, under the guise of offering Emily support, continues to foster distrust between the two. She plants seeds of doubt in Emily's mind, asking pointed questions that challenge James's commitment. "Do you really think he'll stand by you once this all blows over?" Lisa asks during one of their conversations. "He's already lost his job. What happens if he's dragged down further by all this? Can you trust someone like that?" These conversations take their toll. Emily, who had initially been in love with the idea of being involved with an older, powerful man, begins to see cracks in her relationship with James. Her fears of the future, now compounded by Lisa's words, push her to question everything she thought she knew about him. Emily starts distancing herself emotionally and physically from James, unsure of his true intentions. James, desperate to maintain control, tries to salvage the relationship, but the damage has been done. Emily's trust in him has shattered, and she becomes increasingly cold and distant. She's no longer the naive teenager who believed James could fix all her problems. Now, she's a young woman, questioning her future and uncertain about where she fits in the mess James created. As James's grip on his personal life loosens, Lisa takes the next strategic step. She files for divorce. But Lisa's intentions go beyond ending their marriage. She intends to destroy James's ability to maintain any semblance of a stable life. Lisa ensures that she will retain full custody of their children, using every legal and emotional advantage at her disposal. She consults with her lawyer, who advises her on the best approach to maximize her chances of winning full custody. Lisa leverages James's infidelity, the public nature of the scandal, and his suspension from the police force as evidence that he is an unfit father. She paints James as a man whose priorities have been corrupted by his affair, and she doesn't hesitate to argue that their children would be better off with her. The lawyer compiles evidence that shows James's deteriorating state, his emotional instability, his inability to provide a stable home environment, and the toxic influence of his affair on his relationship with their children. Lisa ensures that James is seen as the villain in this situation, and it becomes clear that he will not only lose the custody battle, but also be forced to pay significant child support. The thought of losing his children hits James like a punch to the gut, but by now, he knows he has no way of stopping the legal train that Lisa has set in motion. The children are the last connection to a life he once held dear, and it slips through his fingers as easily as everything else. Lisa escalates her revenge by planting fabricated evidence of James's involvement in a police corruption case. But Lisa isn't done yet. As if her revenge isn't already complete, she escalates the situation further by planting fabricated evidence that implicates James in a police corruption case. She knows that the final blow to his career would be to have him charged with a crime, something that could send him to prison and ensure his complete fall from grace. Lisa begins researching police corruption cases in the area, looking for gaps she can exploit. She finds an old case that had been closed, but was still under the radar. James had been involved in the investigation years ago, and there were some questionable aspects regarding his actions at the time. Lisa fabricates evidence, such as falsified documents and manipulated emails, that appear to show James had taken bribes or been involved in illegal activities while working as a detective. She anonymously tips off the Internal Affairs Division, making sure that the fabricated evidence is sent directly to the right people. The investigation picks up, and James finds himself once again under scrutiny, not for his affair, but for alleged criminal activity. The police department now has even more reason to want to strip him of his badge, and his colleagues, already disgusted by his personal life, begin to question his integrity. James is called in for questioning, and the investigation into his past actions grows increasingly intense. His suspension turns into a full-blown criminal investigation, one that threatens to land him behind bars. By the time he realizes that Lisa has taken this final step, it's already too late. His career is finished. His reputation is in ruins. His family has turned against him, and all he can do is watch as his life unravels completely. James's descent into chaos reaches its breaking point. With his job lost, his family in shambles, and his future uncertain, James can no longer stand the weight of his situation. The walls have closed in around him, and he's finally come to the bitter realization that Lisa has been orchestrating his downfall every step of the way. His emotional and mental state is fragile, and he is now desperate to confront his wife and demand answers. One evening, after receiving yet another blow from his lawyer, who confirms that the fabricated evidence implicating him in the police corruption case is making the rounds, James snaps. He has no one left to turn to, no way to salvage what remains of his dignity. His mind races with thoughts of revenge and fury, but most of all, he needs to know why Lisa has done this to him. He storms into their home, his eyes wild with a mix of rage, hurt, and desperation. He knows that Lisa has been the one behind the anonymous tips to the media, the leaked evidence, and the court filings. She's the one who made sure he would never see his children again, the one who planted false evidence to ruin his career. He needs to confront her directly. James's voice cracks with emotion as he demands an explanation. Why, Lisa? Why did you do this to me? I loved you. I never wanted any of this. I never thought you would go this far. His words are filled with hurt, but there's a thin veneer of anger beneath them. He's unable to process the full extent of his betrayal, his affair, his lies, and the undeniable fact that he brought this pain onto himself. But in his mind, he needs Lisa to take some of the blame. Lisa stands her ground, her face cold and unreadable. But inside, she's been preparing for this moment for months. This is the confrontation she's been anticipating, and she has no intention of backing down. As James rages at her, she remains eerily calm, her voice steady and deliberate. You want to know why, James? She responds, her voice laced with bitterness. Because you tore my world apart. You destroyed everything I believed in. You made a mockery of our vows, of our family, of everything we built together. You weren't just cheating on me. You were lying, manipulating, and playing with someone's life. Emily wasn't just some teenager. She was someone you used, someone you hurt. And all the while, you had the audacity to act like the perfect husband and father. Lisa's words hit James like a physical blow. He stumbles back, stunned by the coldness and clarity in her voice. But she isn't done yet. You think I didn't know about your late nights, your secret phone calls, your lies? I knew. I could see the way you looked at her, the way you justified your affair, all while I was sitting here, pretending everything was fine. I knew about the pregnancy long before you ever told me. You thought I wouldn't find out? You underestimated me, James. The weight of her words lands heavily on him. James, in his broken state, feels a deep pang of guilt, but it's overshadowed by a surge of anger and defensiveness. He tries to argue, to deny her accusations, but Lisa cuts him off. I've watched you tear apart everything we had, and now you want to blame me for making sure you paid for it. You think I've done all of this because I wanted to hurt you? No, James. I did it because I needed to make sure you understood what it feels like to lose everything. Her words leave James speechless, his anger shifting into something else, fear. He knows he's lost. The power dynamic has completely shifted. Lisa is no longer the woman he can manipulate or deceive. She's the one holding the reins now, and he's powerless to stop her. The tension between them escalates as James's emotions finally boil over. Overcome by rage and frustration, he lunges at Lisa, shouting, "You don't know what you've done to me. You've destroyed me." His hands reach for her, but the fury in his eyes is matched by the desperation to regain control over a situation that's completely slipping from his grasp. Lisa, however, is ready. The months of anger, hurt, and betrayal have prepared her for this moment. She steps back, her heart pounding, but her mind sharp. She knows that if she doesn't defend herself now, James could easily overpower her. With a quick, calculated move, Lisa grabs a heavy object from the nearby table, something small, yet enough to fend him off. She strikes him with it, forcing him to stumble back, temporarily stunned. "Don't you dare touch me," she warns, her voice cold and resolute. James, now shaken by the blow, hesitates. His body shakes with rage and frustration, but deep down, he knows he's lost control. He takes a step back, his eyes never leaving Lisa, who stands firm in her position. The violence in his demeanor recedes, replaced by a mixture of disbelief and humiliation. "You think I'm going to let you walk away from this, James?" Lisa's words are heavy with contempt. "No, you're going to understand exactly what it feels like to lose everything. And I'm going to make sure of it." The room is thick with tension, but James finally lowers his head, a broken man. Lisa stands tall, still holding the object in her hand, but her grip loosens. She watches him carefully, her heart still pounding, but now with a sense of triumph. She has achieved what she set out to do. She's broken him. In this final confrontation, Lisa proves that she is no longer the woman James can control or deceive. The power balance has shifted dramatically, and it is clear that Lisa's revenge has been completed. She has turned his own actions against him, and now he is left to confront the full extent of the destruction he has caused. James's life unravels quickly. The false evidence Lisa planted about his involvement in a police corruption case is discovered, leading to his arrest. His professional life is in ruins as his colleagues and the public turn against him. Along with the corruption charges, James is also arrested for assaulting Lisa during their confrontation. The once respected detective is now a criminal in the eyes of everyone. The media covers his fall from grace, turning him into a scandalous figure, and the public reacts with shock and anger. As James's arrest becomes the talk of the town, Lisa starts receiving sympathy from the public. She is seen as a victim of betrayal, a woman who suffered from her husband's lies and affair. The media portrays her as a strong, wronged woman who fought back against the man who hurt her. People reach out to her with letters and support, and the community stands behind her. Lisa becomes a symbol of strength and justice for women who've experienced betrayal in their relationships. She is no longer just a wife. She is a woman who stood up for herself and sought justice in her own way. Emily, now 18 and pregnant, realizes that her relationship with James has been built on lies and manipulation. She decides to cut ties with him for good. The pregnancy and the affair have caused enough chaos in her life, and she wants to raise her child away from the mess James created. Emily moves far away from the town, distancing herself from James and the scandal. She starts over, finding support from a women's shelter and beginning therapy to heal from the trauma. Emily is determined to create a better life for herself and her child, free from the drama surrounding James. With James out of the picture and the divorce finalized, Lisa is free from the toxic relationship she was in for so long. She moves out of their home and begins rebuilding her life. For the first time in years, she feels like herself again, free and at peace. Lisa focuses on her personal growth, reconnecting with old friends and rediscovering things she once loved. She also finds a new purpose in helping other women who have gone through similar struggles. Lisa becomes an advocate for women's rights, especially for those who have been hurt by infidelity or emotional abuse. She starts a support group for women in similar situations and speaks at organizations that help victims of betrayal. Her own experience gives her the strength to support others, and she becomes a source of hope and inspiration for many. Lisa's life, once filled with pain and betrayal, transforms into one of empowerment and healing. She no longer defines herself by the hurt she experienced, but by the strength she found to move on. She uses her story to help others, showing them that they too can rise above the past and start anew.